and then I'll explain the class. So if you have a t-shirt, or I'm using a scarf, sweatshirt, any kind of longer piece of fabric, we're just going to use it briefly at the start of class. It just needs to be able to wrap around your back. And we'll just do an exercise with it. If you have a yoga strap, that works too. Belt works as well. So take a second to go get that, and I'll kind of chat about what we're going to do today. So I'm going to switch up our normal format today, and it's all about kind of the power of leaning into the slow flow. So we're going to do one long sequence today rather than have the multiple sequences with sun cells in between. And I just have been feeling like the semester's really picking up. I mean, I've been hearing that from a lot of students as well. And I think it's a really good time to play with anchoring into our bodies and taking that with a lot of intention and slow movement. So as I've been saying the last few weeks or times we've been meeting, if you at some point in class realize things aren't really serving you anymore, feel free to hop out. It's the beauty of a virtual setting. And of course, if I make any suggestions or move into a pose that doesn't feel good for you, I will offer modifications, but also, take control of your practice, and you can always find a change or an alternate way to do something. So with that, we'll go ahead and get started, and we're going to try a couple of new things during our warm-up today. So you can start either seated or standing, whatever's comfortable for you. But if you're seated, I want you to feel like you can really stack your rib cage above the pelvis. So I think I'll show in a standing position, but again, you can be seated, and you're going to take that piece of fabric. If you don't have anything to use, we can use our hands as a proxy here, but we'll wrap the fabric around our rib cage way at the back of our backs. And I think we've done this a couple times here and there, but it's one of my favorite kind of check-ins to get the ribs aligned. So you'll grab in either hand, either side of your prop. We'll take a big inhale, and actually this first time, switch hands so that this prop wraps around if you can. If it's not long enough, that's okay. But as you inhale, let it slack and allow your rib cage to actually expand the circle of this fabric around your ribs. So really getting a sense with a little bit of feedback from this scarf, shirt, whatever you're using, how, our breath is a 360-degree movement. So we'll just, as we inhale, let this scarf kind of expand. Try to feel yourself breathing even into the back of the rib cage. That's usually the hardest part. And as you exhale, just gently cinching in on that fabric. And we inhale and exhale. And one more time, we'll inhale and exhale. And then this next time you can uncross. If you were able to cross, you'll come back to our starting place. So you can bring the elbows in towards the waist. They'll be bent kind of at 90-degree angles, and give a little of traction forward with the hands. We're going to inhale, again, still remembering that sensation of how circular the ribs are. And then as we exhale, pull forward slightly on your prop, and exhale, pull the front rib cage back into this belt, scarf, shirt that you're using. So we're using the feedback, the tension that we're getting from the scarf to understand where the front ribs are. So we inhale and expand, loosen that grip on whatever you're using, and then exhale, slight pull forward, and we draw back with those front ribs. It's almost like somebody was taking their hand on your ribs and sort of drawing them towards midline. We'll do that just a couple more times. So big inhale, exhale, draw forward, pulling back with the ribs. And if you're standing especially, take note of a neutral pelvis. And we'll do this one more time. Inhale and exhale. And then you can release this scarf. And in any position, just take a brief tip of the head and the shoulders over to the right. Let the right ear fall towards the shoulders. You can do this in a seated position as well, really keeping this isolated to the ribs. And then we'll Move through vertical, inhale, and exhale, tip the other way. Just getting a little bit of room in this thoracic spine region. And inhale, come back to vertical, and we'll move on to our backs heading to a low bridge. I'm just gonna lock the Zoom room here. So feet will be on the floor, knees are up towards the ceiling. And just feel for a moment the anchoring of the sacrum here. So that's the back of the pelvis, really kind of just below what we usually call our low back. It's this bony structure. Just imagine that somebody had kind of an extra weight in that region. And then take your hands to the front of the ribs, take an inhale. Exhale, let the air go and feel the ribs pull down into the floor, imagining that belt or scarf we were just using. Our final piece before we move to a low bridge, we're just going to lengthen the back of the neck. You could even use your hands to kind of lift the skull up, give a little traction towards the back of your mat, and then gently let the head release again. And you'll feel that chin is probably a bit more tucked into the throat. And that's a-okay. That's going to keep some length in the back of your neck. So from this position, lengthen that tailbone towards the heels. Use your glutes, and we'll lift into our low bridge. Imagine in this low bridge here, almost like your feet were turning out to either side of the mat, but your feet won't move. It's just this energetic sensation, and you'll kind of feel your hips, they'll fall into a centered place in the socket. So we've got the femur kind of finding its center in the acetabulum, which is the socket in the pelvis. If you want to add a little bit extra, we'll start to lift and lower the heels. So pressing into the mounds of the feet, starting to wake up the calves, but being super mindful as the calves and the hamstrings have to do a bit more work, that we're not letting that affect the low back. So we don't want to scrunch in the low back as we do this, but really keep it isolated to the limbs. And as we're pulsing, if it feels okay to keep doing that, we'll press the palms up to the ceiling, pull back on the right fingers, opening up the forearm, pausing there for a moment. And then we'll take the left hand to the right forearm and just give a squeeze kind of down towards the elbow. And then reverse, squeezing up towards the wrist. Your heels are still going if that's okay. Otherwise, you can have the feet flat on the floor. Feet flat on the floor is a very hard phrase. And then we'll switch arms, pressing left palm up to the ceiling. Pull back with the right fingers. Those calves are really wakening up here. And then bringing the left hand to grab the right hand to grab the left forearm, and we'll just squeeze down and up this stretch of bone, muscle, fascia. We can let the heels lower if you haven't already. Bring the hands back to the floor and slowly, slowly, slowly lower through the spine. Curling just a little bit extra with the tailbone as we lower the sacrum to the floor. And then just let the knees gently fall side to side. Not in the extreme, but just to kind of give some release to the hamstring and the calf. Before we head into our traditional core awakening, let's just practice those ribs rooting again. So bring the hands to either side of the rib cage. Like your hands were on your hips, except it's up a little bit higher, so slightly awkward. Inhale, press the sides of the rib cage out into the palms. And as you exhale, use the hands, give a little force towards your midline as you pull the front ribs down into the back body. So it's kind of this energy of going in and slightly down. Inhale, expand again. And exhale. Little pressure towards middle, and then pulling the front ribs into the back body. Check in with that chin if it wants to jut up, and we'll do the ribs just one more time. Inhale and exhale. All the air comes out, we squeeze in and down. And then we'll interlace the fingers behind the head, elbows come up to the ceiling. And we'll keep trying to cultivate breath like that throughout the class, with that, the ribs moving and staying open and then responding when we want to kind of close them a bit. So we'll inhale here. Exhale, draw those ribs towards middle, head and shoulders lift off the floor. Round one, really feel that right leg kind of dial out like we practiced in bridge, and we'll extend the left leg and point through the toes. Not, it doesn't have to be crazy, but just get a little bit of extra energy there. Left foot lowers and inhale, head and shoulders lower. Exhale, use the ribs as your motor here, head and shoulder blades lift. Dial out on that left foot, feel it anchored. And then the right leg extends, keeping the thighs parallel here, and we point through the right foot. Right foot lowers, inhale, head and shoulders lower. Adding on if you'd like, exhale, head and shoulder blades lift. This left leg extends, we can point through the feet, and then we add a twist to the left, moving from the rib cage. I already feel actually a lot more rotational range than I normally do this early in class. And back to center, foot lowers, inhale, lower. Again, power of that like slow intentional movement can really open stuff up. Exhale, head and shoulder blades lift. Right leg extends this time. Option to add this twist to the right. Not, elbows are not the motivator, but really moving from the center, and the elbows just respond. Back to center, foot lowers, inhale, lower. One more add-on here. Exhale, head and shoulder blades lift. Left leg extends. We'll add our twist to the left. Option to extend the right arm like a blade towards the left foot. We really reach towards that ankle, and then we'll externally rotate the left hip. So the foot kind of opens out to the left. Move back through center and internally rotate the left leg. Back to neutral, hand returns. Inhale, lower as the foot lowers. Exhale, head and shoulder blades lift. Right leg extends, twisting right here. Option to extend the left arm towards the right foot, reaching through the shoulder blade, and then we externally rotate the leg. Back through center, internal rotation, really imagining that femur moving in the hip socket. And hand returns, foot lowers, inhale, lower. We'll take the feet wide on the mat here. Let the knees fall into center. And then open the left hip. We're coming into our supine twist. We'll press the right foot into the mat as the right half of the pelvis lifts up. And the arms come to goalpost or cactus. So we're in a 90-degree angle with the elbows, and they're extending out from the shoulders. And as we do this, we'll take a big inhale. And exhale, imagine this right half of the rib cage drawing down and back like we practiced with the prop at the very start of class. So when we let the ribs flare up to the ceiling, we often cause more aggravation in the back than we do actually start opening stuff in the front. So we want a little bit of containment there without being too closed off. And then we'll let the right half of the pelvis come back to the floor. Left knee comes back to center and other side. Right hip opens, we press through the left foot. Squeeze that left glute, lifting the half of the pelvis. Big inhale and exhale. Knitting those ribs to some degree towards midline. You can even use your right hand on the left half of the rib cage. And you'll often feel that when we pull those ribs in, it actually intensifies the opening in the front of the hip. We'll let the left half of the pelvis come back to the floor, knees come into center, and ever so gently make your way up and around to all fours, heading to our quadruped here. Hopefully your spine feels nice and long. And as we come into quadruped, remembering as we first started on the floor, the weight in the sacrum, the ribs pulling into the floor, and then the skull lengthening, all the way onto the mat. And we're going to try to imagine that the mat is kind of above us now and keep trying to strive for that alignment. At the same time, get that sensation of dialing the hands out, just like we did with the feet in low bridge. We're going to get a little bit more movement in the torso here. So weight into this right hand, and the left arm comes to goalposts, parallel to the floor. Inhale, press into the right hand, twist open to the left. Exhale, thread the left arm under the right, reaching over to the right side, but keep the hips lifted. Press into this right palm, goalpost the left arm, and inhale, open. Exhale, thread it under, bending this right elbow as we go. Press into the right palm, goalpost. Inhale, open it up. Exhale, thread it under, bending the right elbow. And then just pause there for a moment, not dumping too much into the shoulder, but trying to keep some lift through the core and trying to keep the hips and the knees aligned here. So not sitting all the way back at this moment, really keeping it stacked. And then we'll press through the right hand, returning the left hand to the mat, and take a pause in neutral here. Dial out those hands a bit. Really feel straightening through the elbows and the front ribs lift up, envisioning, the belt behind you. Right arm comes to goalpost as we weight into the left hand. Inhale, opening for a small twist. Exhale, right arm threads under the left, bending the elbow. Inhale, press into the left hand, right arm to goalpost, and twist. Exhale, thread it under. We'll do two more. Press into the left hand, goalpost, and open. Inhale. Exhale, thread it under. And last time, through our goalpost, inhale, open for a twist to the right. Exhale, thread it under, and we'll pause just for a moment. Imagining the low abdominals, the deep core pulling up into the spine, into that sacrum region, and that will give you some more length in the low back. We'll press into the left palm, right hand next to it, and lower to the forearms, heading towards dolphin. If dolphin is not your favorite, you can stay in this quadruped and just puff up between the shoulder blades. If you'd like to head to dolphin, you'll tuck the toes, puff up between the shoulder blades, and then lift the pelvis up, bringing some buoyancy to both knees. And even here, take a big inhale. Exhale, pull the front ribs towards the back. Almost like you were doming into that mid-back area. Let the neck go, lengthening through the back of the head. And then we'll press through the palms, lift the elbows, and walk our feet forward. You can also lower the knees to get there. Bend knee forward, fold. Briefly bring the fingers into the hip crease. So find where your hips are creasing and almost push the femur back further into the joint. So this is a great way to practice true hip flexion. If you can keep your fingers in here, that usually means you're not dumping in the pelvis. We'll press into the feet, inhale, arms reach up. And exhale, hinge at the hips, reversing that direction. Hands plant, right foot steps back, lower the knee and the top of the foot. Inhale, lift. Pull back with the left foot on the floor and squeeze the right glute in response. Exhale, arms come to goalpost. Hands plant in front of the foot, step back for plank. Dial those arms out, squeeze the glutes. Lower those knees and we lower to the floor. Inhale, cobra. Exhale, downward facing dog. Keeping some weight in the hands. Right foot steps forward, left knee lowers, top of the foot. Inhale, lift. Left glute squeezes as the right foot pulls back on the mat. And exhale, arms to goalpost. Keep lengthening the back of the neck here. And hands plant forward, left foot steps in, bent knee forward fold, exhale. Inhale, rise. Exhale, hinge at the hips, hands plant. Left foot steps back, lower the knee. You can keep the toes tucked if that feels okay. Exhale, we'll bring the arms down by our sides, palms face forward for a low V. So on these low diagonals here, feeling the shoulder blades pull onto the rib cage. Hands plant, step back for plank. Squeeze the glutes. Lower those knees and we lower to the floor. Inhale, cobra. Exhale, downward facing dog. Pausing at the top and the left foot steps forward. Right knee lowers, toes tucked or untucked, whatever feels right, and inhale, lift. Exhale, arms on the low diagonal, low V here. Feeling, even though this is, this could be seen as a passive pose, I want you to feel energy in the shoulder blades pulling towards the spine, almost like somebody stapled those shoulder blades onto the back. And feel the strength in that. And then hands plant forward, step the right foot in, bring the fingers to the hip crease, practice one more time, feeling a little bit of space in the joint there. And then inhale, arms sweep down and up. Exhale, hinge at the hip, moving towards our sequence. Right foot steps back, lower the knee, top of the foot, inhale, lift. Exhale, arms come to goalpost. Inhale, arms reach up, let those shoulder blades lift to the ears. And exhale, sweep the arms down for our low V. Inhale, arms reach up, shoulders lift. Exhale, shoulder blades pull down, elbows pull to goalpost. Inhale, extend. Exhale, drawing down on the diagonals. You can start your music if you didn't already. I forgot. Inhale, arms lift. One more cycle here. Exhale to goalpost. Feeling shoulder blades pin onto the ribs. Inhale, extend the arms. Exhale, low diagonal. We'll tuck the back toes here. Inhale, arms lift, press into the right foot, lift to crescent. That right knee lifts off the mat. Slight bend in the right knee here. Arms come to goalpost, and we lay the forearms down parallel to the floor. Inhale here, exhale, pulling from the scapula, moving them towards the spine. Those are the shoulder blades. We draw the arms back and back to neutral. So we exhale, squeeze scapula towards the spine and back to neutral. Keeping, as we do this, the rib cage really contained, and pull it back to neutral. One more, pull it back. Return to neutral, left hand behind the pelvis, right arm reaches up to the ceiling. Let that shoulder pull up. Exhale, a little bit of a side bend over to the left here. Return to vertical, inhale. Exhale, right arm sweeps down and around, open for a warrior variation. Left forearm to thigh, right arm over the ear. We'll reach the right arm up towards the ceiling. You can either keep this left forearm down or extend the arm towards the floor. We'll press into the, bend the back knee, pressing into the right foot, and press the floor away to straighten that leg. We bend and press, straighten, and bend, and press, feeling more length down the right side of the body. Bend and press, and we'll windmill turning to the front of the mat. Right knee lowers towards the floor, and then step the right hand about 6 feet away from it, off the mat, so those fingers are facing right. Left leg extends out to the left, gate pose here. Reach the left arm over the ear towards the right side, and feel some lengthening in the opposite side body. Inhale here. Exhale, sweep the left arm forward, down by your hip. Pin that onto the ribs, and then rotate the ribs up to the ceiling, just a touch. Inhale, return, left arm over ear. Exhale, sweep this left arm down by the hip, pin it on your back, and then ribs open. Inhale, arm over the ear. And exhale, last time, pin that shoulder onto the back. Press into the right hand as the rib cage opens. And return, arm over the ear. We'll gently sit back into the right hip, so crease at the right hip, butt comes to the floor, and we turn all the way to the back of the mat. Feet land just like they did for our low bridge. Fingers face the feet. Dial out both hands and feet like we did in our warm-up today, and then squeeze the glutes, lengthen the tailbone. Pelvis lifts for a table. We keep our gaze here looking towards our knees or just forward. And exhale, lower the pelvis. Press into those feet and hands squeeze those glutes and lift. Pressing so much into the hands that you feel a lift out of the shoulders. So I don't want you to feel like you're sagging into the shoulders. If that's the case, you can always lower the pelvis a bit. And we'll all lower to the mat. One more time here, pausing at the top. Option to bring in a little bit of a pulse, squeezing the glutes a bit more. Dialing those arms out to keep the humerus centrated in our shoulder. And we'll all exhale, lower the pelvis, turn to the left. Coming into down dog, we'll do some twisting crouches. We bend the knees, let the knees swivel over to the left, pelvis goes right. As we come back to neutral, left foot steps as far forward as you can, right foot steps as far forward as you can, kind of in a wide bent knee forward fold, and we step back. So left foot steps back to down dog, right foot steps back. Other side, knees bend, little crouching down dog, twisting to the right. And as we come back to neutral, right foot steps forward, left foot steps forward, right foot back, left foot back. So we'll just keep alternating here, knees go left. And only step as far forward as you can, keeping the hands really anchored into the floor. We'll twist to the right. And that might mean you need to bend the knees quite generously, or don't step as far forward. Either option's great. Knees twist left, left foot forward, right foot, left foot back, right foot back. Last time here, knees go right, right foot steps forward, left foot steps forward. This time, weighting into the hands, we'll step back to plank. Pause at the top here, and then feel the front ribs pull into the back body. Shoulder blades come on the back, almost like your chest was falling like an inch towards the floor. And then the knees lower, keeping this exact position with the chest. Bend the elbows and we lower all the way to the mat. Bring fists right by the side of the rib cage, pressing the top of the knuckles down. Elbows come up to the ceiling. And we really pull the shoulder blades towards the spine. Draw the knuckles away from the floor by lifting the elbows.
Lengthen the tailbone towards the heels here. Small movement, big feeling. And then knuckles lower. One more like that. Really root the pubic bone first. Feel the core engaged. Lift those elbows up. Let the knuckles go. And then we'll come into a traditional locust. So fly the arms back by the hips. Keep the anchoring in the pubic bone. And you can fly the legs if that feels okay too. Lifting the chest in a bit of a cobra. And then hands plant under the shoulders, tuck the toes, lift through your down dog. Walking the feet in just a touch. Almost as if you intended to walk the feet forward again. That's how much weight we want in the hands here. And then the left leg will lift, three-legged down dog. Pelvis stays neutral. Exhale, step the left foot forward. Warrior one will slightly ground the right heel and rise. You can bring a little bend into the back knee, but make sure these two legs are tracking with the same width of your hips. So we don't want them in the same line. That feels like walking a tightrope. We'll even here get this sense of dialing the feet out, and you'll feel that lift you out of the legs more. So it pulls us into the core. Left hand comes behind, we've been here before, right arm over the ear, and side bend over to the left. Huge demand for this right hip. Really will open those hip flexors. If it's too extreme with the right heel grounded, can always lift off coming onto the toes. Make warrior one your pose. It doesn't have to look like anyone else's. Inhale, return to vertical. Exhale, turning to the side of the mat. Turning right, we come to side lunges. Bend into the right knee and hip. Bending into the left knee and hip. Making sure that the knee is tracking over the ankle, not moving forward over the toes. That's a great check-in to know what's going on in your pelvis. Usually if that knee's moving forward, it means we're not really creasing at the hip like we've been practicing. So we're just moving side to side here. Oh, it feels so nice. Taking the time, you can keep your spine straight as we do this, or feel free to make it a bit more fluid, but check in with what you need. And then the next time you bend into the right knee, we'll all pause there. Walk those hands in front of the right leg. They might come off the mat, that's fine. And we'll sweep this left leg back behind us for a standing L. If you need to adjust your space like me, oops, sorry, go for it. Aiming for a neutral pelvis here, so you can use a hand on the back of the pelvis to sense what's going on. And again, it's just like we did when we stepped forward from down dog. Hands are really anchored here, and we're bending the knee as much as we need to make sure we can keep them on the floor. One more breath here. As you exhale, bring the left knee towards the floor, coming onto the shin for a modified side plank. We'll immediately bend the right leg as we sweep it up. So right knee is bent at like 90 degrees and the foot is pressing behind you. Option here, you can grab for the top of the right foot, squeeze the right glute, and you'll get some extra opening in the hip. Big moment here, dial the left hand out on the floor, pull the front ribs into the back body. One more inhale. Exhale, right hand and shin come to the floor. Weight into the right hand, goalpost the left arm. Inhale, twist, just as we did at the beginning. Exhale, thread it under. We'll take 3 of these. Inhale, press and twist. Maybe feeling more open. Exhale, thread it under. Press into that right palm, open up, goalposts. Exhale, thread it under. And then the left hand will come to the mat, tuck the toes, and we'll just take the feet wide on the mat and walk our way to the top of our mat, turning those feet to the front. Step the right foot in, bend into the knees and hips, and let the torso fall, releasing the length in the spine, letting it be more of a waterfall or weeping willow kind of vibe. And then we'll press into those feet, feel them dial out on the floor. Inhale, rise. One more side to go. Exhale, hinge at the hips, hands plant. Right foot steps back, lower the knee, top of the foot, or keep those toes tucked, whatever feels good. Inhale, arms lift, shoulders reach up towards the ears, and exhale, goalpost. As we head to goalpost, pull those front ribs back in space, lengthen the back of the neck. Inhale, arms reach up, shoulders reach. Exhale, sweep it down on the low V, pinning shoulder blades to the back. Inhale, arms reach up. Exhale, goalpost. Inhale, arms extend. Exhale, low V. One more cycle here. Inhale, arms reach up. Exhale, goalpost. Really anchoring in here. Inhale, arms extend, and we head to our low diagonal. Tuck those back toes if you haven't already. Feel the pelvis lifting out of the floor before you move, and we'll press into the feet, rise for crescent lunge. Little bit of a bend in the left leg. Inhale, arms extend up overhead. Exhale to goalpost, and lay the forearms parallel to the floor. Inhale here. Exhale, pull those ribs in and down and pull the shoulder blades on those ribs towards the spine. Inhale, release. Exhale, pulling back. Inhale, release. Exhale, pulling back. Into neutral. One more, pull it back. As we come to neutral, right hand comes behind the pelvis, left arm reaches up, and we side bend over to the right. Feel the left half of the rib cage still drawing down. You'll really maximize the stretch in the side body. Inhale, return to vertical. Exhale, open to the left, warrior variation. Right forearm comes to the right thigh. Left arm over the ear. And feel even here that dialing out sensation in the legs. You can extend the left arm up above the shoulder. Option to extend the right arm straight towards the floor. Feel this right sits bone pulling towards the right foot. Don't let it wing back in space on you. Inhale here, exhale, bending the back leg, the left knee. Press the floor away as you exhale, straightening that left leg. Bending left knee. And push the floor away. Straighten all the way through that left chain. Last time, bending the knee. Straighten. And we'll turn to face the front of the mat. Left knee lowers towards a half kneel. Left hand lands outside of the left knee, fingers face away from you. Right leg extends out to the side for our gate. If you are like me and have limited space, we will adapt. Right arm reaches over the ear. Inhale there. Exhale, slice the right arm forward, down by the hip, pin it on the back, and then open the ribs. Inhale, return this right arm over the ear. Exhale, right arm sweeps forward, down by the hips, shoulder blades on the ribs, and then open the ribs just slightly. One more time, inhale, right arm extends over the ear. Exhale, sweep it down, pin that arm onto the back, and then we open the ribs. Returning to neutral, we'll crease in the left hip, sitting back onto our pelvis, turning to the back of the mat. Get there in any way you need. If you didn't get that transition, feet on the floor, hands facing the feet. Here we go. Squeeze those glutes, pelvis lifts, table, and lower. And table, hold it up there. Feel the hands dialing on the mat. Feel that the shoulders aren't caving towards the legs, the pelvis, but you're really keeping this open chest here. Pelvis lowers. And last time we pause at the top. Option to add some small pulses. Glutes as your motor. And we'll lower the pelvis, exhale, turn to the right, returning to our down dog. Hands land, coming up on the toes. We'll exhale, crouching twist, knees go right, hands stay planted. As we bring the pelvis back to neutral, right foot steps forward, left forward. Right foot steps back. As the left foot comes back, we twist, knees going left. And left foot forward, right foot forward, left back, knees go right. So we'll keep going with this. As we do our twists here, really feel the anchoring in the palms. Like for me, as I twist with my knees to the left, when I really press through the palms, I feel even more open in my side. And we're stepping forward. Last time, as your knees go left, we'll step the left foot forward, right foot forward. We pause, anchor these hands, feel the shoulders on the back, step the left foot back, step the right foot back. Turn your glutes on and just feel the strength of your plank here. I always kind of move out of plank as soon as I get there. This is a good exercise. Knees lower. Dial out those hands, feel the chest stay open, and we lower to the floor just like that. This time we'll bring the arms to goalposts. Anchor the pubic bone. Inhale, chest lifts, pulling those shoulder blades towards the back like we've been practicing. Lengthen the back of the neck, so avoid bringing the gaze forward. Instead, it's probably going to be a couple inches in front of your mat or on your mat. Exhale, hands plant under the shoulders, tuck the toes, lift to your down dog. You can walk those feet in a touch. Let's take a big inhale. Exhale, let it go. And the right leg lifts. Three-legged down dog. Pelvis stays neutral. Exhale, step the right foot forward, heading to warrior one. Left foot is in line with the left hip, and that heel grounds to some degree. A lot of people will say it's like a 45-degree angle, but really listen to what your pelvis is doing and let that guide you. So we want it to stay neutral here. Before we move, we'll dial the feet out on the mat. Feel how that lifts us up into the pelvis. Inhale, arms reach overhead. Exhale, bring this right hand behind the pelvis. Turn on the left glute and side bend right. A little extra opening in the front of the left hip. Remembering you can bend the back knee or come up onto the toes if that helps your pelvis stay neutral. Inhale, return to vertical. Exhale, sweep this down over to the left for side lunges. We side bend left, side bend right. And take this in your own time. If you're able to, at some point, try bringing one hand behind your low back, so your lumbar spine region, and see if it feels like it's dipping towards the floor. If that's the case, imagine you're doming your back right there by pulling the low belly up into the back. And you might feel a little bit more room in the hips as you do that. Next time we bend into the left knee and hip, we'll pause there. Walk the hands in front of the left foot, really anchoring the palms as we sweep the right leg behind us, standing L. Neutral pelvis here, imagining those sits bones squeezing towards the midline of your body. And almost like your chest was again falling just an inch towards the floor. That's how we really get some nice stretch in the back body. One more breath. On your next exhale, we'll lower the right shin to the floor. Under the hip, that knee comes right under the hip. Weight into the right hand and shin and come to our modified side plank. Left leg sweeps back. We can immediately bend the left knee. So almost imagining the front of the hips was pressing against a wall in front of you, and that the left foot behind you was also pressing against a wall. You can grab the top of the left foot with the left hand if that feels okay, but keep dialing that right hand out on the floor, pulling the front ribs into the back body and squeezing that left glute here. As you exhale, left hand comes to the floor, left shin, right arm comes to goalpost. Inhale, open it up. Exhale, right arm threads under. Press, inhale, goalpost, open it up. Exhale, thread it under. Last time here, we inhale, open. Exhale, thread it under. We bring the right palm back to the floor, tuck those toes, and step the feet wide on our mat. Walk ourselves back to the top of the mat. Step that left foot in, bend deeply into the knees and hips here, and then walk up on the fingertips, walking those hands way away from you. Draw that chin towards the throat. And just imagine like somebody was pulling you like you were Laffy Taffy. So like really sinewy length in the spine. Walk those hands back towards the feet to some degree, and we'll slide the right foot back like we were heading to low lunge, lower the knee, and then bring that right palm under the shoulder, weight into it. Open with a twist here. We're heading towards a lizard, so if you don't, I'll tell you where we're gonna go. If you don't like it, I'll give you a second option. If you can, you'll reach back for the right foot with the left hand, keeping that right palm on the floor, and draw the left foot towards the hip. Now, if this feels like tragedy for your right knee, do not do it. We'll keep the right toes tucked behind you, lift into this kind of extended half lunge position, squeeze the right glute, and then reach the arms up overhead, pull the front ribs back. You'll feel crazy opening there. So we just slightly set the knee up a little bit further back than normal, and we get some extra opening without dumping into the leg. Plant the hands in front of your foot if you had that lifted version. If you were twisted, let the foot go, bring both hands to the mat. We'll step back to down dog and step the right foot forward. Lower the left knee. Again, we're coming towards this slightly extended half kneel position, and pick your poison here. So we're either in this elevated lizard, reaching those arms up, ribs pulling back in space, or we've got the left hand under the shoulder. We open through the ribs first for a twist, and then maybe reach back for the right foot, left foot with the right hand. If you have the foot, almost imagine that the hip was like pulling back towards the foot as much as the foot is pulling towards the hip. We don't want to dump into that hip joint, but we want to keep it nice and stacked to some degree. we'll let that foot go if you grabbed it. If you're vertical, bring both hands to the floor. We'll all step back to down dog. Tread through the heels briefly. Let the head go, kind of shake it yes. And then shift forward, bring the knees to the floor, quadruped. We're gonna head to pigeon. And I'm gonna cue straight from quadruped to get there. So be gentle with yourself, listen to if this doesn't feel good, and I'll always say what the alternative is. So if you wanna head to pigeon, we'll cross the left foot across the right thigh here, so left ankle to right thigh, and you can let the left knee fall to the floor. Pelvis is a little asymmetrical, that's okay. Inhale, take a cow, pull that chest forward. Exhale, push the floor away. Doving the upper back for cat. Inhale for cow. Exhale, cat. And then come back to neutral. We'll start to slide the right foot back exactly in line with where it is, letting those left toes fall. And you have two options. You can either keep the right toes tucked, really squeeze the right glute, and that pelvis is gonna stay very neutral in that position. Or if that's too much, you can let the right knee go, but keep the right glute on, really, really strong. Our goal here is to keep neutral pelvis, and that's gonna optimize our stretch. I'm gonna give the second option if you don't like pigeon. So if pigeon is not for you, you'll come onto your back just as we started and head to a figure four. That would be crossing left ankle over right thigh, really being gentle on the left knee, keeping neutral pelvis, and then using the abdominals to pull the right thigh up in line with the hip. Meaning that right thigh is going to keep tracking right with the hip socket. Don't let it fall over to one side. In general, try to bias your weight in figure four over to the right or over to the supporting leg. And that's usually going to keep your pelvis more neutral. So whichever version you're in, keep breathing. And as you breathe, I like to imagine almost like my muscle fibers with each breath were expanding and releasing and expanding and releasing. And sometimes just that imagery is powerful enough to, you'll feel something release or uncork, some tension that's been there for a while, unwind, and then usually when that happens, you'll realize you have other tension you didn't even know was there. We'll start to move to the other side. If you are in figure four, you can lower the right foot, lower the left foot, and switch sides. If you're in pigeon, and I'll do pigeon on the other side, just start to push off the right toes. It's a bit of an awkward exit, but just walk those right toes up, walk the hands forward, and return to quadruped. So my figure four people, you'll cross right ankle over left thigh. Quadruped people, pigeon people, we're doing the same. If you're heading to pigeon, you'll cat-cow 2 times, letting that right knee touch the floor. And then ultimately paying attention to the alignment of the hip, keeping the leg in line with that hip joint, just slide the left leg back. And letting the right leg just be where it is. Remembering you've either got this straight knee, tuck toe option, or you can lower the knee, but we want to keep the left glute on and that core contained. And as we're breathing into these deeper hip stretches, check in with your jaw, in this area around the base of your skull. Try to relax your tongue in your mouth. That's usually where some stuff is hiding. And we're all gonna head to our backs. If you're in figure 4, you can lower the left foot, uncross the right. If you chose pigeon, you'll just walk yourself forward. Move through quadruped, taking a moment to flip over onto our backs. And we'll all draw the knees towards us. It doesn't have to be sandwiched into the belly, but just somewhere towards you so that you can feel that low back sacrum area on the floor. We'll exhale, draw the knees in a bit more and let this whole shape fall over to the left. So we come onto the left side, legs stay tucked in. Inhale here, exhale, pull the right arm across you, opening over to the right. Feeling this really nice twist in the rib cage. You can always goalpost the right arm if it's too extreme extended, or you can put a pillow or a block under the right shoulder. If it feels like you don't have that range right now, rather than trying to force it and compensating by flaring the ribs, just work with where you're at. Last piece here, lengthen the back of the neck to some degree. And then exhale, we'll reverse, drawing the right arm over us, back to the left, and then rolling over on our backs. Take this neutral position again, letting the legs be at a comfortable distance away from you. Almost like they were giving your back traction. And then exhale, pull the knees towards you a bit more. We'll tip this shape over to the right side. Arms extend away from you. Big inhale. Exhale, peel the left arm open, over to the left side. Remembering you can bend the elbow, get a support under that shoulder. And continuing to think about length in the tailbone, even in this twisted position. Exhale, draw the left arm over your body back to the right side. And roll onto your back to this neutral position. Heading to Shavasana. Taking liberty to find any position that feels anchoring to you today. Stable, solid, like your kind of home structure in your body. And with each breath, let yourself sink more deeply into that position. Feeling the tenderness of moving slowly in your body. This gentle, almost an oozing feeling of release. If you'd like to stay in your Shavasana longer, you can turn the video off, pause it. Otherwise, on your next exhale, draw one hand, or we'll draw each hand onto your body somewhere. So maybe one is on the ribs, one's on the belly. Your hands can come to your pelvic points or both to your belly. Feeling those hands rise and fall as you breathe. And on your next inhale, you can reach the arms overhead along the floor, lengthening out like you were just waking up for the first time today. Exhale, release, and slowly, keeping your eyes closed, make your way to a seat. Taking this last slow moment to check in. To check in with your body, but also your spirit, your mind. To trust your intuition and what it tells you. We'll take one last inhale together. Exhale through the mouth. Thank you so much for joining me today. Have a wonderful end of the week and weekend. Namaste. Thanks, you guys. I'll stick around for questions. I was going to say something else, but I forgot. I hope you have a great end of the week. I'll see you around. Thanks, Keith. Double thanks. That's so nice.